and welcome back to another episode of Measurement in a Minute. I'm your host, 𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗬𝗧 with Lakeside Process Controls. In this series of videos, we're going to start talking about Rosemounts 3051 pressure transmitter. Now, before we can do this, we have to make sure we're all using the same kinds of terminology, so we're going to go through that in today's episode. First things first, we have to understand what atmospheric pressure is. And I think this illustration does a good job of demonstrating that. But in its essence, it is the weight of the various layers of atmosphere at that sea level. Now keep in mind this is approximately 14.7 pounds per square inch at sea level, but this does change as elevations change. So, I'm in Toronto right now, we have a certain level of atmospheric pressure, but if we were to go to Boulder, Colorado, a much higher elevation, that's going to change and be slightly reduced. For most purposes, we can say it's 14.7 pounds per square inch, but keep in mind this does change depending on where you are throughout the world, and depending on the level of accuracy you need in your pressure transmitters, this might be important to take into consideration. Now, if you ever wonder what that A is at the end of PSI, we're going to go through that in just a moment. So there are two types of measurements when it comes to pressure. First thing is known as absolute, and that's what that A in that PSI A is. And this is measuring the pressure relative to a vacuum, relative to the zero pressure condition. So atmospheric pressure is 14.7 pounds a square inch on Earth, approximately, relative to a pure vacuum. Okay, but if I were to take a pressure measurement wherever I am right now, I'm under those 14.7 psia, so I actually can't take an absolute measurement. I'm taking what's called a gauge measurement. And a gauge measurement is going to be the pressure relative to that atmospheric pressure. And I think this illustration does a great job of that. So if everything around me here is being exerted on by the atmosphere at 14.7 psi, any measurement on top of that is going to be in addition to that 14.7. And depending on where we want to reference will impact our measurement. Now, some folks will measure in absolutes, generally if they don't want to have any uncertainties because atmospheric pressure is changing, that's fine. And most times, folks will use a gauge pressure measurement. And so if you have a 30 psi G, then that means you have 30 pounds per square inch of gauge pressure, but in the absolute space, that would be 30 plus 14.7. And then last but not least, important to understand differential pressure. Now, differential pressure is quite simply the difference between two pressure points in a system. And this is many applications that we'll walk through in a bit, but understanding this, now you understand the various terminologies that apply to pressure transmitters. Should you have any questions about Rosemounts 3051 pressure transmitters or any other of our products, please reach out using the QR code on screen. Thanks everybody, have a great day.